1.5 years ago, I started an experiment that changed my life. Hi, my name is Peter and I'm a type 1 diabetic with over 16 years of practical experience. Diabetes is all about counting carbs. That's what the doctors tell us. Well, I don't like counting. I'm a mathematician and mathematicians are lazy. So I thought, let's make it easy for myself by not eating carbohydrates in the first place. So that's what I did. I stopped eating carbohydrates, I stopped eating grains, I stopped eating fruit, I stopped eating vegetables. I ate less carbs in an entire year than some of us would do in a single day. I reduced my fiber intake to 0, and in less than 500 days I ate over 1,000 pounds of meat. I drastically increased my fat intake. My cholesterol intake went up. I ate 10 eggs a day, I ate 20 eggs a day, I ate 100 eggs in a single week, I only ate sardines for 5 days, I only ate 2 sticks of butter for multiple days in a row. I stopped having breakfast, ever. I did not eat for 1 day, I did not eat for 2 days, I did not eat for 5 days, and yes, I even fasted for 6 days in a row. I drastically increased my salt intake. My LDL cholesterol went up to a staggering 600 milligrams per deciliter, and my ketone levels went up to 2 or 3 millimoles per liter. Well, after all these crazy things, here's what happened. I survived. Nothing bad happened. Actually, only good things came from it. As for my type 1 diabetes, things greatly improved. My A1C is now a 5.1 and my blood glucose levels are in range virtually 100% of the time. My insulin requirements went down. First they were 40 units per day and now they are down to 20 units per day, sometimes 15, and if I'm exercising a lot, it can be as low as 5 units per day. I did not go into ketoacidosis. I did not suffer from any severe hypoglycemia. In fact, sometimes I can go without glucose tablets for weeks in a row, which is quite special for a type 1 diabetic. As for other improvements, my irritable bowel syndrome went away. I used to try a lot of elimination diets in the past, like low FODMAP and a gluten-free diet. But the problem is that I never eliminated all of the offending foods all at once. So the diets would give some relief but never proved to be a solution in the long run. It's only later that I realized that elimination diets have to be done the other way around. You have to start by eliminating as many foods as possible, and then if you want, after all symptoms have disappeared, you can try to reintroduce foods one by one. That's the only way to be certain that you exclude all of the problematic components from your diet. That's why the carnivore diet is also called the ultimate elimination diet. Then my skin issues all went away. I used to suffer from ever returning rashes and wounds on my face and on my hands, and now they are perfectly clean. That is an important thing both in social and professional life, and it did wonders to my self-confidence. My mental clarity improved and my energy levels are now more constant throughout the day. My anxiety also reduced considerably, and a few years ago I would have never imagined to make a YouTube video like this, for example. And on top of that, also my migraines and my auras went away most of the time. So I now experience those a few times a year, let's say, but in the past that would easily be 1 or 2 times a week. When it comes to the kidney and the bladder, things also greatly improved. I no longer experience cloudy urine, and the cloudy urine most likely was caused by the oxalates in plant foods. And this aspect totally disappeared after a few months of carnivore diet. Then, after running, I no longer experienced blood in the urine. I suffered from a so-called runner's bladder, which means that because of the pounding of your feet on the ground, the walls of your bladder would hit each other, and if your bladder is inflamed, that will release blood in the urine. Besides that, my urine would sometimes even have the color of Coca-Cola. So you would be peeing brown urine, and that's quite scary. And that was caused by a thing called rhabdomyolysis, which is the rapid breakdown of muscle tissues, and that releases a lot of toxins in the blood and can be very dangerous for the kidneys. In fact, if you suffer from a severe episode, you could die from acute kidney failure. Also this I attribute to the plant foods in my diet, because now after sporting I am recovering much more quickly. And it seems that my muscle breakdown is not as severe anymore. Also my joint pain went away, and that has again to do with the plant-based foods. There's less inflammation going on in my joints, and also I experience no lower back pain anymore, and that greatly improves my sleep at night. Now let's talk about weight. My weight was quite okay. I was at a very reasonable weight of 190 pounds, but still a lot happened. So during the first half year of carnivore diet, I lost a lot of weight. I went down to 180 pounds. Then after that, I gradually started to gain weight. And that was mostly muscle weight, actually. It went up back to 190 pounds, to 200, to 210, and eventually even 220. I'm 6'2", by the way. And then after summer, it stayed at 220, but gradually reduced back at what I consider to be my goal weight now, of 200 pounds. It's important to realize that a carnivore diet is a weight optimization diet, so you don't necessarily have to lose weight. Especially if your body has to heal, it will tend to adhere to all the nutrients that you are taking. So you could actually gain weight initially. So don't stand on the scale too much. Me personally, I don't worry at all about my weight, as long as I'm feeling all right. And my experience is that as long as my fat percentage is in a reasonable, healthy range, on carnivore, no matter what the fat percentage is, I am feeling great. So whether I have a lot of musculature or more fat, that's all okay, as long as I'm eating a proper human diet. Now let's talk other side effects of the carnivore diet. My teeth are whiter, or less yellow, I have to say. My jaw pressure reduced, so I'm no longer grinding my teeth at night. I stopped snoring. I stopped using sunscreen, and I attribute that to the exclusion of seed oils in the diet, which causes your skin to be less prone to sunburn. And then another side effect is that my nails started to grow like crazy. And that probably is because of the high collagen content of the diet, or it might be the vitamin B. Who knows? Finally, a big one, my fitness increased. Not by much, just a little, but my fitness especially became more constant and more reliable. So there's no reason for me to train every day, because my muscles will not break down and my fitness will stay constant even if I don't exercise a lot. And at the same time, I do not have to skip any exercise because I am not feeling fit enough, and that used to happen a lot in the past. My fitness certainly did not go down because of a lack of carbohydrates or so. In fact, I started cycling zero carb, and I stopped carb loading all the way. I went cycling 100k on an empty stomach. I went cycling 150k on an empty stomach. I went cycling for 300k with only just one stop in between at the butcher shop. And I also did a zero carb ride of 6 days from Italy to the Netherlands. And that is about 1300 kilometers and 30,000 elevation meters, all on a zero carb diet. And that was quite an experience, because I had to join carb loaded cyclists, and during dinner and during breakfast I would be sitting in between people that are feasting on breads, pasta, banana. Well, me, I'm either eating nothing or I am eating a few eggs, for example. And during dinner, the cook, he would provide me with 2 pounds of ribeye. Well, there you have it. Enough reason for me to know that I am not quitting carnivore diet in the very near future. I see no valuable reason to reintroduce any foods. I like my diet as it is. I like the simplicity and the minimalism. And that's a very interesting aspect of the carnivore diet as well. There is some sort of cascading effect. The simplicity removes all the distraction from your life when it comes to food. I am no longer dependent on it. If I have to skip a meal, that's no problem. If I'm in a social gathering, I don't need to eat. Social gatherings nowadays are all centered around food. And that gives me time and energy to focus on other things in life. And that's this cascading effect that I talk about. So all the distractions are gone, and since you are feeling great, you can now pinpoint all the other things in your life that are not going all right. So you can focus on things like sleep or grounding. Exercise became very important for me as well. I dedicate a lot of more thinking on it. So the carnivore diet indirectly has an effect on all kinds of other aspects of your life. The simplicity also perfused to the kitchen, for example. So now I only use one single kitchen cabinet for storing my food. It only stores eggs, salt, and maybe some canned fish. And the rest is stored in my fridge and my freezer. And the fridge, by the way, also has become much cleaner because I am no longer storing any vegetables or fruits that are rotting away. So my kitchen has become very simple. And now I start to apply this aspect also elsewhere in the household and in the rest of my life. Because now I removed all the distractions from food and diet, I also tend to remove other distractions from my life. I tend to move away from consumerism and all kinds of other distractions. So you could say, in short, that after going carnivore, I'm tending to a more minimalistic lifestyle, and I can focus on the things that I really find important. Well, I think we are finally there. These are my experiences of about 2 years on the keto and carnivore diet. Am I now suggesting that every type 1 or type 2 diabetic should go on the carnivore diet? Well, no. I think the carnivore diet can help with a lot of issues. But when it comes to blood glucose management, it's sufficient to go on a low carb or keto diet. If you are able to moderate carbohydrates and stick to the keto or low carb approach and eat less than 50 grams of carbohydrates per day, you will be in a very good place when it comes to the blood glucose management, and you will feel much better both physically and mentally. For some people though, if moderating is not really their thing, it might still be beneficial to go keto or carnivore all the way. Then it's also very interesting to investigate fasting, because every time that you have a meal, it will give an insulin spike and will rise your glucose. And if you avoid or reduce the number of meals per day, then your blood glucose throughout the day will be much more constant. And you have to realize also that when you eat a meal, your body always goes in a slight inflammation state, because since you're consuming foods, it might also contain bacteria and other pathogens, so your body is preparing for that. Inflammation is of course not a good thing, so if you are eating all the day, then your body is in this constant chronic inflammation state, and that's the thing that we are trying to avoid. I also talk about the blood glucose management aspect of keto and carnivore in a recent interview with Dennis Pollock on his channel Beat Diabetes, and you can find a link in the description below. So in short, for type 1 and type 2 diabetics, I would like to give this take-home message. No matter what you do in terms of diet, if you follow a plant-based approach or a meat-based approach or anything in between, try at least to go low carb and consider fasting. And that's it. I hope you found this useful, and see you next time.